Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
That's a terrible drum roll. Oh!
Boy, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome in to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I was muted at the beginning of the show. You audio listeners probably won't know this because Richard will cut that part out. But for all you that were here live, this is the age we live in now. It's the age of Zoom, and we mute ourselves. But welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It's Thursday. That means it's the OG hour. Patrick Allen here with you, as always, joined by the Blogfather, as I am every other week, Adam Best. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I am not very happy about where week one is being played because not that I don't think it's cool that the Chiefs are going to Brazil, but as we've previously spoken about, I just moved out to LA. I was really looking forward to having some family and friends out for the Chargers game, and that's not going to happen this year. So I understand that the Chargers don't want to be embarrassed by having 80% of SoFi full of red again. I get it. They don't have an existing fan base, but still a little disappointing.
It's kind of a blow to the Chargers, really, when you think about it, because the NFL found the only place that they could play a home game that would have fewer Chargers fans than Los Angeles, which is Sao Paulo. There probably won't be any Chargers. I mean, if you were in Sao Paulo and you're like, all right, I'm going to get into the NFL and become an NFL fan, why would you pick the Chargers? I mean, they've got to be near the bottom of the list, like the Browns, the Chargers, maybe the Cardinals. Like, why? What's the appeal?
They do have a top 10 quarterback, like a young franchise quarterback. I mean, we're really reaching here outside of that because the illustrious history isn't there. They're in a brutal division, right? They're basically the football version of the LA Clippers in their hometown. They're permanently going to be Robin to Batman. So it's just not an ideal team to root for. And I still think the calculus, I'm sure it was lucrative for ownership and whatnot, but moving to Los Angeles, I do not think was a great decision for them.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's a great punchline for us to make fun of the Chargers, and we're gonna use it until they win something.
Did you see this guy that said that the NFL was giving the Chiefs some huge advantage by sending a divisional game to Brazil? I think it was like a Yahoo reporter or something. And I was like, okay, first of all, the Chiefs are undefeated versus the Chargers and SoFi. Second of all, this team does not have a home fan base. It does not exist. While I appreciate the imagination, what's the difference? It's going to be 75% red in Brazil, just like it would have been here in LA.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with the Brazil game. I think if we're gonna have to play an international game, one, it's not taking up an Arrowhead home game, so that's a win, right? And then two, they're on the road, but it's week one. So what's the difference? You're traveling to Sao Paulo, you're traveling to LA. I'm not sure the exact distance or time of the flight, but from KC, but it's not like the guys are bruised, battered. They're not coming off a Thursday night football game or something stupid like that. Like, it's week one. Who cares where we're playing? We won't be at Arrowhead, so it doesn't matter. It'll maybe be kind of fun. I know some people have concerns about the field. I'm guessing that they'll maybe be on top of that this go around, and hopefully nobody gets injured or anything like that. But it's fine. I'm fine with it. I'd rather that be week one than somewhere else. But look, we got a great show for you guys today. We're gonna pretty much dive right in here in just a minute to the schedule. It came out last night. Again, we knew who the Chiefs were going to be playing, home and away and all that stuff, but we didn't know what the order was. We didn't know the primetime games. And there are a lot of them. The Chiefs have the most primetime games in the NFL with 7. They're playing on Christmas Day. They're playing on Thanksgiving I don't know if they've ever played on Thanksgiving in the past, but they haven't in a long time, if that's the case.
I remember them playing vaguely the Aikman Cowboys. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, they've not been, obviously a lot of those slots are taken. They somewhat recently added more games, so it's not common for the Chiefs to get in there on Thanksgiving. We'll talk about that. But before we do, Adam, I just real quick, this whole debate popped up because of the schedule about the Chiefs are now America's team. So I saw Chase Daniel talking about it on Twitter. It's been on a couple other programs. I've seen a bunch of influencers on TikTok talking about Chiefs people. And I just want to give you my take on it, and I want to get yours and see if you think that they're America's team. One, I've always thought the America's team thing is stupid. I know the Cowboys have a lot of fans, but they're not America's team. Even if they have the most fans in the NFL, I always thought it was an arrogant thing. It was dumb. But to me, what America's team actually means, it's not because the Chiefs have a lot of fans, and it's not because the Chiefs got the most primetime games or have won. The Chiefs are America's team now because everybody fucking hates them. That's the distinction of being America's team, right? You didn't, like, you grew up like everybody, you are either a Cowboys fan or you hated the Cowboys. It's not like a team that you're indifferent about, like a Chargers or the Cardinals or some team like that. It's like whatever. That's what the Chiefs have done. The Chiefs are America's team. Last year proved it. The conspiracy theories about the refs, the schadenfreude and glee that everybody had when they got their butts whooped in the Super Bowl, it really mattered to people to see the Chiefs lose. They're so sick of the Chiefs, the saturation point. So to me, that's what America's team means. It doesn't mean that they're the most popular. But it does mean that they've got a lot of fans, but people hate watching them. When they're in these primetime games, people want to see the Chiefs lose those games. And that's why they're always melting down on Twitter when the Chiefs pull them out. But what's your take on this whole America's team thing?
First of all, just looked up the Thanksgiving thing, right? Okay. And I was right. They played in 1995 and they lost to the Cowboys. Michael Irvin went off. And then I think the last time was that 2006 Denver Broncos game, which I think was the first Thursday night Thanksgiving game on NFL Network. And I remember the commercial back then where Tony Gonzalez told the Broncos to save some room for stuffing. So epic commercial. I'm going to have to find that commercial and post it on Twitter or something. But I think the Chiefs, more people like the Chiefs than we recognize. I think the Chiefs are actually popular. I think we have a society that is kind of like a demolition derby society, front facing. People are encouraged and rewarded for being negative on social media, for having negative takes on TV, on YouTube, wherever else. And I think people are more likely to complain in our society publicly right now than they are to praise. That's just where we're at. So I think there are a lot of people, there's I don't want to say a silent majority, but maybe of general football fans out there who Patrick Mahomes seems like a nice guy. Andy Reid seems like a swell guy. They're fun to watch play football. I admire what they've built, but I don't think that's as in vogue as oh my God, I'm so sick of these guys. If I see Taylor Swift on TV one more time for 10 seconds, I'm going to jump off a tall building, it's all very dramatic. And I think the solution for everybody else is simple. The Chiefs America's team is stupid, right? This country can't collectively decide on anything. That if we know one thing at this point, I don't have to say any more than that. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, but we cannot get on the same page for the life of us. So the thought that America has a team that they're unified around is it's a preposterous theory or whatever. But they are the most relevant team in American sports in this moment. And in this moment, I mean, we're looking at the stretch of a decade here pretty soon. So That, I think, if we mean the most relevant team, the most historic team, if we look back on this decade, we're going to talk about this team like we talked about the 90s Bulls. That's where we're at. But I think when you look at what was going on with the 90s Bulls, where they really were America's team, they really were universally liked. I mean, I think it shows kind of what's gone on with American society. I mean, even the Super Bowl halftime show was basically built around someone being petty. It was built around a diss song. You know what I mean? Like, this is what America is right now. Like, everyone's cheering for the Philadelphia Eagles. Really? Like, that's a team that nobody should get behind. They are the bad guys. How did the bad guys become the good guys in this storyline? That is how upside down we are. But it's pretty simple. If you want to get the Chiefs off TV, someone in their division is going to have to, snatch the AFC West from them, and someone's going to have to snatch the AFC from them and keep them out of the Super Bowl for more than 1 year in a row. Because since Mahomes has been in Kansas City, they've been a fixture in the Super Bowl. And from a programming standpoint, like, of course, you have the face of the league and Patrick Mahomes. They're the most successful team in the NFL by far. And then Travis Kelce is arguably the most famous athlete in America, and, the Taylor Swift thing. And it just, again, the NFL isn't going to naturally gravitate towards a team in flyover country, and I use that term because that's what people would say if they're being derogative about the Midwest and a team in a small market. So they have their reasons. I mean, they're not just doing this because whatever, the Chiefs draw, right? The Chiefs draw ratings.
Yeah, it's true. And you're right. And when Mahomes and Reid are gone, maybe it does change, right? Maybe, it's not, maybe they don't have the staying power that the Cowboys have being in Dallas. You could argue that the Patriots are still popular, but they're certainly not what they once were. You don't turn on ESPN and hear them talking about the Patriots every single day. They're always talking about the Cowboys. Doesn't matter how bad they are. And we see it, you and I have worked in the business. Our Cowboys site is still our biggest site here at Fansided. So they do have a lot of fans. The Chiefs site is very big too. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's always changing. But one thing is for sure, the Chiefs are making a ton of new fans right now. There's a ton of young people coming up wearing the Patrick Mahomes hairstyle and all of that. So what it is now and what it'll be 10 years from now will be a little bit of a different story.
I got a comp for you. And I think maybe the Chiefs have the opportunity to become the Cowboys, and becoming the Christmas team, which we'll get to, is part of that strategy. But I think if you look at what the Steelers have become, what the Packers have become, where they just have these top 5 fan bases because of the work done in the past, and, not particularly big markets, right? Like
They're
Dallas
is
a huge market. But I think if you look at the markets and the trajectory for the Steelers and Packers franchises, that's the rarefied air that the Chiefs are in now. And I think maybe if they keep going, they have a shot at the Cowboys. But the difference is Dallas is huge, right?
Yeah,
Texas
absolutely.
is huge. Texas is huge. And for a long time, there was only one Texas team. So,
well, lucky for the Cowboys, the Houston Texans moved to Kansas City, or the Dallas Texans rather. Okay, so let's talk schedule. Let's talk predictions. If you're watching out there on YouTube land, do us a solid, hit that like button. And if you want to support this show and the Chiefs content that we do here, we're going full steam ahead all off season long. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep bringing you Chiefs content, analysis, takes, history, everything. Check out the link in the description. Consider becoming a member. You still have time to get in on our members-only fantasy football leagues, all that fun stuff we do. So check it out. Okay. Before we get into the game-by-game predictions, and everybody watching, we want you put your predictions in and follow along and tell us what your final record is to keep track. Yeah, it's way too early predictions. Who cares? It's fun. The rosters are pretty much set at this point, so why not start prognosticating? I mean, for goodness sake, it's mid-May. We got a little ways to go here, so we got to entertain ourselves. What are your thoughts on the overall schedule, the makeup of the schedule, the primetime games, away, home, the bye week, all that stuff. What were your thoughts on it when it came out?
Immediate knee-jerk reaction is just, I don't see any stretches of death. I don't see any like month-long, oh, this is grueling, how are they going to come out of this? Last year, I was really worried about the opening, getting Cincinnati and the Ravens, like two highly motivated teams to beat the Chiefs back-to-back. And then there was that, whatever it was, around the holidays where they played 3 games in 10 days. And in previous seasons, there's been like back-to-back-to-back. You know, you get the Eagles and the Bills right next to each other or whatever. I just look at the schedule and there's no like glaring valley that intimidates me. But also the other thing is games that look tough right now might not be tough. One injury to, I don't want to throw a name out there, but a good team late in the season, they may not be a good team. And a team that we're sleeping on right now, I mean, this is just crazy conjecture, but what if Anthony Richardson what if the light bulb does go off and the Indianapolis Colts are the best team in the AFC South in week 12? Something like that in the NFL is going to happen this season. We don't know what, but so I think there will be surprises on both ends. There will be a team or two that are way better than expected and a team or two that are way worse. And we don't really think about that in May.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Last year people were probably looking at the Commanders on their schedule, right? And they're like, it's going to be a cakewalk. These guys stink. They got a rookie quarterback. They're terrible. And there you go, right? Jaden Daniels happened. So for me, when I look at it, I think that it's a tough start. It kind of alternates, right? The Chargers, it's winnable. And then the Eagles, that's tough. At Giants, winnable. Ravens, that's tough. At Jacksonville, winnable. Lions, that's tough. Raiders, winnable. Commanders, that's tough. Then you get the Bills, that's tough. And then you got the bye week. I think after the bye week, things really ease up for the Chiefs. If Denver doesn't take a quantum leap forward, you've got at Denver, Indy, at the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, Houston, good team, but Chiefs seem to have their number. Then they get the Chargers, the Titans, the Broncos, and the Raiders. So a lot of divisional games in the back end of that schedule after the bye week. So I think what's kind of good, even though it's a tough start for the Chiefs, you got to play all these playoff teams and first place teams, is that it gives them 9 weeks and they're really going to test their mettle, right? Those teams before the bye week, Buffalo, Washington, Detroit, Baltimore, the Eagles, and even maybe the Chargers to a degree, like they're really going to test the Chiefs. Andy can get in the lab. You get through that stretch, you go to the bye week and you make your tweaks and you have a much easier road down the stretch there. A few games at Arrowhead too, right? In the last little bit there. So I think after week 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, that's 7 games. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those are going to be at home. So nice stretch there. Some Arrowhead cold weather games. I don't think it's a bad schedule. I know that they're not playing at the same time a lot and the holidays and all that stuff. I haven't done the math yet on like the days between games and all of that. But in general, it could have been worse.
Looking at that stretch you mentioned, I hear you. I do think it's challenging, but Eagles at home. If there's ever a revenge game on any schedule, that is the revenge game, the mother of all revenge games, right? Home opener in Arrowhead. I mean, that crowd is going to be frantic. And then you get the Ravens at home, you get the Lions at home. I like that you get the Lions early in the schedule. We'll talk more about this, but they have 2 new coordinators. You want them in week 6, not week 16, right? Because they're going to still be figuring it out. So I like that they alternate. Jacksonville also has a new coach. So that stretch is tough, and then Zach, fellow AA co-founder, my brother, points out the late bye, week 10 bye. And that for a team who's, a few of their most valuable players, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, are getting long in the tooth. They could really use late season rest to charge up for the stretch run. So I like that.
Yeah, and the Chiefs have nine games at Arrowhead this year as well. So that's nice. That's nice. And considering one of their away games is a neutral site game where they're probably likely to have more fans than the opponent that they're playing. Not quite a home game. They do have to travel for it, but the Chargers have to go farther, I believe. So, yeah, it's not bad. And as you pointed out, some of their hard games, the Eagles at Arrowhead, the Ravens at Arrowhead, the Lions at Arrowhead, the Commanders at Arrowhead. They do have to go on the road to Buffalo. They get the Texans at Arrowhead. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for a lot more in terms of your hard games being at home. And some of those are prime time or primetime-esque games, right? That Philadelphia game is the late window game. They're going to get the Lions on Sunday Night Football. They got the Commanders on Monday Night Football. So a little bit to like there as well with the schedule. All right, let's dive into predicting these suckers, man. Let's go. So the first game of the season, Chargers in Sao Paulo. It's technically an away game, neutral site. Chargers have reloaded a little bit. What do you think? Who do you got winning this one?
I've got the Chiefs. I'm not going to say that it's beyond Harbaugh and Herbert and Greg Roman and all them to pull it off. Man, you're giving Andy Reid this long to prepare for an opponent he already knows. He has a year of tape on this offense. He knows the quarterback very well. So does Steve Spagnuolo. When they have advanced time to plan, they are pretty deadly. Not so much in the Super Bowl this round, but generally they are very, very hard to beat. So I think it'll be a fairly close game. The Chargers usually play the Chiefs pretty tough, but I'm going to go with KC. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me KC in a win over the Chargers for this game. Look, man, it's really hard for me to see the Chiefs losing to look. They're well coached. I knew last year the Chargers were going to be in the mix because Harbaugh is such a good coach. And even though they had a talent deficiency, they're going to win games they should win because of the coaching advantage. The same thing with Andy, right? Andy's so good. They usually have a coaching advantage. So even before Patrick Mahomes, you were going to the playoffs pretty much every year with Andy Reid. Same thing here. Chargers are going to put up a fight, but they're still going to be relying on a lot of young players because they're rebuilding that roster. Some of these guys that they're going to be relying on are going to be playing in their very first NFL game ever. They're going to travel to Sao Paulo. That's a big deal for a young kid as well. A big travel and all that. So yeah, I don't see the Chiefs with a whole offseason to prepare and all the new wrinkles and tricks that Andy unveils in a week one game. As long as everybody's healthy, I don't see the Chiefs losing this one.
And look, running back Marion Hampton and receiver Trey Harris, some of their additions may end up being spectacular for them, but this is pretty fast to depend on two rookies. And then Ladd McConkey only in his second year. I mean, basically their entire skill position group is extremely young. So I just don't know that they're going to be ready to take down the Chiefs in week one.
Yep, I'm with you. There's just I'll be more worried about them in December than I am in that first game. All right, next up, it's the Super Bowl rematch: Philadelphia Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll start us off on this one. This is a tough one, man. Look, it's hard to think about the Chiefs winning this game based on your last memory of them playing football against these guys, where the Eagles just whooped the Chiefs' butt. And the reason the Chiefs were able to, the Chiefs failed in this game was they just couldn't block these guys. So you have to ask yourself, and I know they've had some changes on the defensive side of the ball there in Philly, but they've still got that pass rush. Is the Chiefs' offensive line ready for this so early in the season? I would much rather be playing them, especially if Simmons ends up starting. It's just a tall order. So I got the Chiefs losing this game. I just, right now, I don't feel like they have the horses up front to hang with the Eagles. I think it's not going to be a repeat of the Super Bowl. you're going to see Andy's going to make it. They're obviously going to learn from that, make adjustments, so on and so forth. But I just think this could be a classic of a game, but that the Eagles pull out because whether you've got Simmons or Moore, you've got who is Kingsley playing guard for you in his second game. I just think it's a lot to ask, and I think it's going to make it hard for the Chiefs to score on this one.
An X factor for me could be the availability of Rashee Rice. I think that the Super Bowl could have looked a little bit different if he would have been a big answer to that test on punishing them for only rushing 4. Just get the ball out quickly. So we'll see what happens with that. But this Eagles team isn't exactly the same. They lose Milton Williams up front. They lose Josh Sweat up front. So 2 members of that vaunted pass rush are gone. 2 members that caused chaos for Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 59. Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator, is also gone. So like I said with the Lions, getting them in week 2 with a new offensive coordinator. I know they've switched coordinators. It's almost an annual thing for the Eagles, but they've come out of the gate a little slow a few of these past seasons. So, and man, if there was ever going to be a Patrick Mahomes over my dead body game, like this is the one, man. I mean, he's going to be thinking about this all summer. Him and Kelsey and Jones, they got embarrassed. And I think we kind of oversell the revenge game narrative. Not this time. The Chiefs have egg on their face and, all that belt to ass stuff that the Eagles in Philadelphia were doing. I mean, that has not been forgotten. And the Chiefs tend to settle their scores. Like, they are not a team that lets somebody get the best of them and is never heard from again. We've seen, I mean, the Buccaneers took a pretty severe beating from the Chiefs after a situation like this. So
you got the Chiefs winning.
I got the Chiefs winning. I have to.
Yeah, look, I hope you're right. And, it helps sometimes. Like, I don't mind playing the Bills every year because, again, when it comes to the coaching advantage, I think you just having played the game and tried some of your stuff out, like as brilliant as coaches that Andy and Spags are, it's one thing to look at tape. It's another thing to see your guys go up against and do that self-scouting. And I think it really helps them in the AFC. And then when they run into these NFC teams that they don't play as much, it's a little bit harder. So, we didn't play the Eagles last year. It would have been nice if we had, and things maybe are a little bit different if they're able to kind of get that experience. And sometimes it's just, they ran into a buzzsaw that night. The Eagles played unbelievable and they deserved to win and all that stuff. So I hope you're right. And I definitely could see it going the Chiefs' way because of those things, but we shall see. I've got them at 1-1. You've got them at 2-2. Let's move on. They're going on the road to New York City, actually New Jersey, to take on the Giants. Yeah, go ahead and kick us off on this one. I think we know the answer here, though.
Yeah, but I'm going to throw out early trap game. Trap game because sandwiched in between the Eagles and the Ravens, along with a trip to Brazil and then a Monday Night Football game against Jacksonville, it would be easy to just completely overlook the New York Giants. But you have a coaching staff with Brian Dable, like, desperate to save their jobs. You have Russell Wilson, who's going to be clinging on to relevancy. And if you actually look at his situation, when you've got a top 5 left tackle in Andrew Thomas, and you've got an ascending, I think, bona fide superstar number 1 in Malik Neighbors, you've got a couple good running backs. They've got what scares me about the Giants is getting them this early when the offensive line is still gelling. Man, that defensive line, now that they've got Abdul Carter to add to Burns and Thibodeau and the rest there, God, the big guy in the middle, I'm just blanking on his name, but that's a really good defensive pass rush. And we know that the Chiefs, if you have a team that can send guys in waves and get pressure with 4, that is what the Chiefs have struggled with during the Mahomes era. And this is a team that could do it. So if the Chiefs are 2-0 and they ride into New Jersey, kind of overconfident, this is the kind of game where they could get caught. I'm picking the Chiefs, but I just want to throw out that this is a trap game.
I've noted it's a trap game in my notes here because I'm keeping track of our records. Yeah, look, I've got the Chiefs winning this game. I'm not too concerned about it. I agree it is a potential trap game for them because they've got Malik Neighbors and because Russ, even though he's mostly cooked, he's always thrown a great deep ball and he's willing to chuck it deep. And you got Neighbors, this incredible receiver. It's one of those games where if the Chiefs like fuck around too much and they have the stupid turnovers and things like that, that like the Giants could hit a couple big plays and then you're in the fourth quarter and you're like, how is this a 3-point game? You know, and they'll have some big playability and they've got a pass rush, but I don't think the Chiefs, after playing the Eagles, are going to lose to the Giants. I just don't see it happening. The chat, it's Dexter Lawrence who you're trying to think of.
I looked it up.
Yeah. But most of the guys in the chat say this is a Chiefs win. Tom says it's a Chiefs win. So I've got them at 2-1. You've got them undefeated, 3-0, as they head into the last game of the first quarter of the season. It's Sunday, September 28th, 3:25 kick. By the way, that I didn't mention this, but that Giants game was a Sunday Night Football game. So that's going to be interesting as well because, as you pointed out, trap game, Sunday Night Football on the road. So the New York crowd's going to be amped up. There's going to be energy.
I will say I said that the Atlanta game in a very similar situation last year in week 3, I believe, was a trap game and it ended up not being. So,
well, I mean, they were in danger there at the end of that game. And also, let's be honest, pretty much every game they played last year was a trap game. So that was just the season that it was. But now they're back at Arrowhead, and they're playing the Baltimore Ravens at 3:25. That late window for CBS, that'll be almost all over the nation. The Ravens, another team that the Chiefs seem to have their number. How do you see this one? They played an absolute classic in week 1 last year. You're gone. There you are. I was looking at the schedule and I came back to my screen.
No, there was a knock on the door, package or something.
Okay.
I actually am going to pick the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I just think like this is a tough schedule, as you noted, and the Baltimore Ravens have really been knocking on that door. I think they are desperate to beat the Chiefs. They are a well-oiled, well-coached machine. Lamar Jackson typically performs very well against the Chiefs. Even in Arrowhead, I mean, he has a history of coming into Arrowhead and playing some of his best football. They were literally less than an inch away from beating the Chiefs last year in Arrowhead. They didn't. Kudos to the Chiefs. They held on. Great game. But I think this is going to be another classic slugfest between possibly the AFC's two best teams. I mean, there really are like 3 juggernauts in the AFC if you include the Buffalo Bills. But the Chiefs aren't going to go undefeated. And if I have to look at one of the 2 or 3 games they're likely to lose, this was pretty high on my list.
I can see it, of course, but I'm going with the win for the Chiefs in this one. They've got these guys' number, man. I mean, the only time that they've beaten the Chiefs with Lamar is that one time where at the end of the game, somebody fumbled. Was it Clyde? Yeah,
yes,
Clyde.
It was.
They just needed a field goal to win it, I believe, and they were like across the 50, and Clyde fumbled it. So it's not that that the Ravens haven't played them tough and they haven't been close to winning, but I just think they got their number. It's one of those things where I'm worried about the Bills even in the playoffs, even though they have the Bills number, but the Chiefs just always beat the Ravens, regular season, playoffs. So I think that Andy has got Harbaugh's number a little bit there, and they've got Spags has Lamar's number a little bit, and I see the Chiefs handling this one. So we've both got them at 3-1 now. First quarter of the season is over, and they're playing another primetime game in week 5, Monday Night Football. This was an interesting one I didn't see coming. The Jacksonville Jaguars away in Jacksonville. Monday Night Football, October 6th. Hurricane season is wrapping up, so got to watch out for that down there in Florida. Were you surprised this one was a primetime game, and who you got winning it?
I'm not really surprised. They have a new coach, and I think the Travis Hunter story is going to bring a lot of national intrigue. This is going to be early in the season. Everyone's still going to be dialed in to see how many snaps does he play on offense versus how many snaps he plays on defense. I think he's going to play both. If I were the Jaguars, I would just throw him out there and see early in the season if he can do it all, because he's just I don't know. Not only is he a once in a generation athlete, he just has otherworldly conditioning that allows him to do this. So that's going to be fun. I think that's the reason maybe the big trade up in the draft is why they got this slot. I could be wrong. But yeah, they have a new coach, Liam Cohen. So will they have totally gelled at this point? It's hard to say, but I expect that offense to be better when you have Travis Hunter and you have Brian Thomas Jr. in year 2 with Trevor Lawrence, I think, for a guy that was labeled a generational prospect coming in, he's been a disappointment, but I think there's unrealized upside with him there.
So who do you got?
I got the Chiefs.
You got the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs in this one too. I think you're right. They're an interesting team. Liam Cohen did a nice job there with Baker Mayfield, with the Bucks. He can help. Trevor Lawrence is talented. You've got Travis Hunter to add to Brian Thomas Jr. So you've got a little bit of juice there. ETN, I know, wasn't good last year, but I actually still think he's a good running back. Sometimes teams stink, and it makes it hard to, if you're not Jamal Charles, sometimes it's difficult when you're just not on a good team. So I think they'll have some juice, but I just think the Chiefs have too much for them, and again, a big coaching advantage. But they still got a green coach going up against a guy like Andy Reid. So give me the Chiefs. So that puts us both at 4-1. Not a bad start to the season. And now the Chiefs Tom Hood, I saw in the chat, said Chiefs won in a blowout. So keep your predictions coming, gents and ladies in the chat. Okay, so next game, it's the Lions. Sunday, October 12th, Sunday Night Football. It's Chiefs have back-to-back primetime games. A bit of a short week here, but they get a few extra hours thanks to the Sunday Night Football. Lions at Arrowhead. This is going to be a big one. Lions are one of my favorite teams in the NFL to watch right now. I think they're really exciting. I love Dan Campbell. I love the way they run the ball. Amon-Ra St. Brown's incredible. Jameson Williams really coming along. They think he's going to take another leap this year. So this is a really dangerous team. I'm not sure if Aiden Hutchinson, he should be back, I believe. So they've got the pass rush. They've got an explosive offense. I got the Chiefs dropping this one. I think it's going to be a tough game for them. A lot of firepower, a little bit of a shootout, and you're playing some good teams. You're going to lose to some of them, so why not the Lions?
I see where you're coming from, but because of the 2 new coordinators for the Lions, losing, especially Ben Johnson, that offense. I mean, maybe we'll look back and say it really was them having this incredible line anchored by Penei Sewell, and they have Sonic and Knuckles in the backfield and a fleet of receivers, and they're going to be kind of impervious to coaching changes. But I look at Jared Goff historically and how he's kind of had peaks and valleys as a passer. And what if Ben Johnson was really bringing the most out of him? That's kind of like eating at me. And I also just think night game at Arrowhead, the Chiefs typically take care of business in front of a crowd with a BAC of like 0.2, that crowd will be fired up. The Lions, it's hard to, I think they're a hard team to dislike. Like you think about what that city has gone through, what that fan base has gone through. And I don't know, it's like hating the Saints or something. They're just one of the 2 or 3 teams that you kind of have to have a soft spot for. But I'm picking the Chiefs.
Yeah, even Goff is their quarterback. He's kind of the perfect underdog QB for them. All right. So let's move on. It's Sunday, October 19th, our first noon kick of the season. It's the Raiders at Arrowhead. I think the Raiders are going to be much improved this year. I know they still got some problems on defense, but I man, bringing in Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, much like the Chargers last year, they're going to be competent. So who do you got in this one? Brock Bowers, Geno Smith.
Yeah. I'm a Geno Smith backer. Sterling and I, some of the biggest slugfests we've had are arguments on the program about Geno Smith. And I think he is a good quarterback. I think he had one of the worst lines imaginable in Seattle. And what they're doing in Vegas, Pete Carroll has found his version of Andy Reid's Alex Smith to change the culture and be competitive. And when you give a guy like that a decent line and weaponry like Ginty, Bowers, I like Jacoby Myers. Actually, I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league. And they have some pieces on defense, not a lot. Their corners might be the worst in the NFL, honestly. But I thought they had a great draft. Like, I like Jack Besh. I like Darren Porter. So another team in the AFC West that we're going to have to take seriously now, because I think that not that long ago, we weren't taking any of the teams in the AFC West seriously enough. But I think the Chiefs have been so good that they forced these other franchises to get their shit together and recalibrate and bring in serious football people like Tom Brady and Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll. So I think they're going to bring it, but this is not the spot where they're going to get the Chiefs. I have Kansas City over Vegas.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got the Chiefs in this one too, and I think you're right. The move to bring in Pete Carroll, some people might have scratched their heads and thought, yeah, he's kind of older. Like, what's the thing here? And I think it's all about just returning to respectability, changing the culture and how you do things. And you're bringing in a stabilizing force. So maybe he doesn't get you to the promised land, but you got Brady's like, look, we just got to bring in good football people. And I think, like, even I know the Browns have made knucklehead moves, and that's because of their owner, but they finally won a playoff game because they got Dorsey in there and he started getting them the actual talent for a little bit. And then they bring in Kevin Stefanski, who's like actually a good coach, and they didn't fire him after 2 years. They did stupid stuff like getting rid of Baker Mayfield. But, when you do that, it can really, when you bring adults in, it can really, and you don't panic, it can really turn things around. And I think that's what they're doing in Vegas. I like those moves for them. So I don't think they're going to be a laughing stock this year, but they're not going to beat the Chiefs. All right. So 6-1 for you, 5-2 for me, as we head into a big Monday Night Football matchup at Arrowhead. It's the Commanders on October 27th. Everyone's going to have their Halloween costumes on. Coming to Arrowhead, 7:15 kick, ABC and ESPN. I got the Chiefs winning this one. I think this is going to be a good game, but I think Jaden Daniels is going to take a little step back this year, have a little bit of a sophomore slump. Not dissimilar from what we saw with CJ Stroud. And that's not I don't think Stroud's a bad quarterback. I think he's going to continue to evolve, but Daniels took everybody by surprise, much like Stroud did. And now that everybody's had an offseason to study the tape, they're going to throw some different things at him. They're going to figure out what he doesn't do well. And it's going to take him time to adjust. And that will determine whether or not he makes it in the NFL, right? It was the same thing. Mahomes had to deal with that. Teams figure you out a little bit, Josh Allen. And then the difference about whether or not you end up being good is, can you make the adjustment to the adjustments? And I think he will, but I think that they'll struggle in some areas next year. And I think the Chiefs and Spags will take advantage of them in the atmosphere at Arrowhead. Chiefs win.
I'm with you. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to have as much of a sophomore slump as CJ Stroud. I don't know what's going on out here today. It's like Escape from New York or something. Or Children of Men. I'm in like a dystopian movie. The noise out here.
Yeah.
But I do think teams are going to have a better plan for Jaden Daniels. They're going to throw some new things at him. But I like what Washington did. They said, we've got a great franchise quarterback, looks like one at least, on a rookie contract. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to go out and get Laramie Tunsil to be his protector. We're going to go out and get Deebo Samuel as a force multiplier in this offense that teams have to worry about. So they're not standing pat. And again, the Texans didn't either. But what really sank the Texans last season, along with wide receiver injuries to Diggs and Tank Dell, that line was atrocious. It was atrocious. So I don't think Washington's going to quite have that problem. But I see what you're saying, and I just don't think they're going to come in on Monday Night Football in Arrowhead and catch the Chiefs flat-footed. Just not going to happen. I got the Chiefs.
You got the Chiefs as well. Again, let us know in the chat how you think these games are going to go. Weston says he doesn't trust that Commanders defense. Yeah, this is interesting. So you've got them Chiefs at 7-1, an incredible start. I got them at 6-2, and they have back-to-back tough games against playoff teams from last year. It's Buffalo again. Chiefs going on the road this time to kick off November, Sunday, 3:25 kick on CBS. That'll be that late window, pretty much a national game. Chiefs at Buffalo. I got the Bills in this one. That's just the way it goes, right? They beat us in the regular season, and then we beat them in the playoffs. I don't see any reason to change that now. Maybe this is the year the Chiefs get back in the win column in the regular season. But they're on the road in Buffalo. They're going to be coming off an emotional primetime game, bit of a short week there for the Chiefs after the Monday Night Football game. So good. And they're headed into the bye week. They're thinking, I see, another close game between these two, but Buffalo pulls it out at home.
I'm with you. I got to take Buffalo here. And I got to be honest, I might actually be rooting against the Chiefs here because the tradition of Buffalo beating the Chiefs in the regular season and then the Chiefs taking advantage of the lessons learned and the things they held back and kind of using that game as a lab to then beat the Bills in the postseason because, frankly, their coaching staff is better at game planning for one-offs, better at adjusting. I very much want that to continue. I will say the reason the Bills keep losing to the Chiefs has nothing to do with Josh Allen. I think we have to appreciate and accept that as Chiefs fans. Like, he has been Mahomes' equal for the most part in almost all of these games. He has done what he needed to do. And it is the defense that has let the Buffalo Bills down. And that's why they went exclusively defense in this last draft. Will that matter soon enough for them to finally get over this hurdle and get to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I also don't like the weaponry that Josh Allen has as much as what Patrick Mahomes has. It's kind of, that old imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Like, the Bills looked at what Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl. I mean, you were there at the Super Bowl too. And said, well, if Mahomes doesn't need receivers, then I guess Josh Allen. I'm getting confused because we have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Patrick Allen. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. But
Isn't Josh Allen's middle name Patrick too?
I think it is. It is. So this is just
even worse.
Breaking my brain. But I think they're going too far. I think James Cook is a very good running back, but he's not like Christian McCaffrey level where he can actually be your number one option in the passing game or something. Who is Josh Allen's go-to guy in the crunch time? I don't see anybody.
Yeah, it's himself. To be honest with you, it is. He's going, if he can run it himself, that's what he's going to do. So you can't leave him the opportunity to get out of the pocket. I think they get out coached. Angry Drunken German said it in the chat. Bill's constantly getting out coached. I think that's a big part of it when it comes to playoff time. Josh has been great. He's a good dude. I like him. And I hope the Chiefs keep beating them in the playoffs when it matters. All right. So 6-3 for me, 7-2 for you. As the Chiefs go into the bye week, they're not going to lose. Good week 10 bye here. Perfect timing as far as I'm concerned. And then they come back and they go on the road to face the Broncos for the first time this year. Look, I got the Chiefs winning this one, but this is my trap game. You're coming out of the bye week. You should be making adjustments and be ready to go, but you're seeing a familiar foe that's well coached for the first time in the season on the road in Denver. And maybe you come out a little flat in this game, right? Because you're coming off the bye and you get caught a little flat-footed. I think the Chiefs win, though.
I don't know, man. I'm going Denver. I hate to do it, but if they're the two places I'm the least confident in the Chiefs during the regular season are Denver and Orchard Park, and they get these two guys back to back with a bye week. Whew, I don't know. They're taking a little time off and getting away from their conditioning and all that, and they roll into Mile High. They just play them tough. Sean Payton, to me, I think Sean Payton's the second best coach in this division. No offense to Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh.
Yep.
But I think he's the best. And I think he's the best game day coach. That's the big difference. So look, they had a hell of an offseason. I didn't love their draft as much as some people did, but I thought what they did in free agency, adding to the defense. If you told me that this was going to be a top 3 defense this year, not surprising whatsoever to me after what they've done.
Yeah. Tom says in the chat says this is a loss. Weston says game might come down to a field goal either way, like a 27-24 type game. I could see that for sure. Okay, so we both got the Chiefs at 7-3, and they go back to Arrowhead to lick their wounds. From your point of view, I think they're going to win. To take on the Colts and Anthony Richardson, maybe on Sunday, November 23rd, noon kick. Who you got?
I got the Chiefs. I'm always hesitant to pick the Chiefs over the Colts. I don't care how many Super Bowls we win. There are a lot of Colts skeletons in my closet. Maybe it's just my age and your age. Like we grew up getting tortured by this particular franchise. So I'll never be super confident playing when I see that uniform, when I see that horseshoe. They just got problems, man. This feels like an administration on its way out, a quarterback tandem on its way out. Jonathan Taylor probably even is going to be with another team in a year. If they ended up being good, I would not be surprised because I do like their general manager, Chris Ballard, and think they have a good coach, but it all hinges on the quarterback. And my guess is he just doesn't have it. So Chiefs.
Yep. It's an easy one. They have no business losing to the Colts. Scary as Colts games are for us. So that puts the Chiefs at 8-3 for both of us. And they go to Dallas. Short week, Thanksgiving Day, new 3:30 kick on CBS and Paramount Plus. So what do you think about this one, Adam? In Jerry World on Thanksgiving. Is this a game the Chiefs stumble?
I don't think so. I'm really buying what the Cowboys are doing. I love the addition of George Pickens. I think he interfaces perfectly. He's like the perfect player to play next to CeeDee Lamb. He's kind of similar archetype to Michael Gallup, but like Michael Gallup on steroids. And they typically have nice drafts. I just don't like their coach. I know he's a Schottenheimer. Maybe that's blasphemy. I think Jerry Jones, it's very telling that he just went down to his building and said, well, I guess you'll do, and it seems like to me, Jerry Jones he just wants a yes man. He just wants to be the star of the star. This was Al Davis's problem at the end, that nobody could outshine Al Davis and he could not check his ego. And I just think if the Dallas Cowboys would have done a broad coaching search they probably could have had Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? This is the Dallas Cowboys. If Jerry was willing to kind of take a back seat, shut up for once and check his ego. So that's what's nipping at me when I think about picking the Cowboys, because I know they're going to be tough on Thanksgiving if everyone's healthy, if Dak's healthy. But I just think the Chiefs are going to take care of business on that holiday.
Yeah, I'm with you. Chiefs win, and let me tell you exactly why. The Cowboys the week before play the Eagles. Now they're at home, but they play the Eagles. The Chiefs are playing the Colts. That's going to matter, man. It's a divisional game. That's a tough, emotional game. It's the second time they'll play the Cowboys because they open with the Eagles at Philly. So, it's a hugely important game for their division, depending on how they're doing. It's going to be a brawl. They're going to get beat up. The Chiefs are going to be they're both coming off a week 10 bye, but the Chiefs are playing the Colts. I just think the Chiefs aren't going to have as hard of a time. And I think this is a game it's not a trap game because it's the Chiefs, but it's a rough ask back-to-back for the Cowboys, and I think the Chiefs come in and handle them pretty easily in this one. So they're both now 9-3, and we're into December, Adam. We've made it through our first holiday game. It's Sunday, December 7th, and it's another playoff team for the Chiefs, the Houston Texans, out for revenge, back at Arrowhead on Sunday Night Football, 7:20 kick on NBC. Who you got?
It's tempting to take the Texans. I'm not going to do it. I don't have faith that they fix that offensive line. They shipped out Laramie Tunsil. They just reshuffled the chairs on that Titanic. It still doesn't look good to me. So I'm picking the Chiefs, especially Sunday Night Football. They're going to take care of business. I just can't see a path to victory for the Texans here.
I'm with you. I just think they're more experienced. I think, as you said, that the Texans are talented, but they have some issues, and it's a tall ask. If this game was in Houston, maybe I'm a little bit more nervous about it, but I think the Chiefs, they get a little extra rest from, having played on Thanksgiving, and they're refreshed, like a little mini bye week, and they're at home in prime time. They're going to win. So 10-3, both of us have the Chiefs at 10-3. And they've got 4 games to go. So last quarter of the season, Sunday, December 14th, it's a rematch with the Chargers, this time at Arrowhead after beating them in Arrowhead South in Sao Paulo. It's a noon kick, another noon kick for the Chiefs. CBS, Chargers. Who you got in this one?
I got the Chargers. I hate to do it, but I think the Chargers are going to really be jockeying for playoff position here. They're going to be the more desperate team, and they're really going to blossom at this juncture in the season. Those young guys will have, you look at rookie receivers, rookie running backs. By this point in the season, sometimes that starts to click. And I think Herbert will have had more time with Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator. I expect Harbaugh to have that defense playing well too. That's just kind of par for the course of these football teams. And these divisional matchups are always tough. I think the Chiefs are kind of due for the Chargers to get one on them. So
I hope you're wrong, and I think you're going to be. I got the Chiefs. They're at home for the second straight week. I think they're really going to start to find their groove in the last half of this season with all of these receivers, the offensive line gelling and coming together, no matter who's playing left tackle at that point. So I got Kansas City in this one. They continue to own the Chargers and move to 11-3. You've got them at 10-4 as they head just a couple of days before Christmas. And this is another tight turnaround for them to Tennessee, Sunday, December 21st. They'll play at Tennessee. I got the Chiefs in this one. I don't think there's much to say about it. The Titans are going to be terrible, and the Chiefs should just handle them.
It's going to be a laugher. They're going to head into Nashville, and hopefully their starters will be have their helmets off by the end of the third quarter so that they can get ready for the Christmas Day tilt at Arrowhead versus the Broncos.
Yeah, and we can move right on to that game. And this is my weird Christmas Day loss for the Chiefs against the Broncos, a team that I think they'll be better than, but they'll have been coming off. I've got them winning, losing to Buffalo, and then winning in week 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And this is just one of those games where the Broncos come into Arrowhead. It's Christmas Day. Even though they played the Titans, they just played on Sunday the 21st. And Denver snake bites them. Last second field goal this time. It doesn't get blocked. Denver wins.
I can't pick the Broncos to beat the Chiefs twice. I think it will be competitive, but I think, with the world watching on Amazon Prime Christmas evening, they're going to handle their business. They volunteered for this game. I think they got embarrassed on Christmas a few years ago, as we saw last year with Pittsburgh, that they had a much different approach. Maybe the players didn't take it seriously the first time or didn't want to be there. I personally don't like the complaining about Christmas Day. And I get it. People have families, people have to work, all these different things. It makes logistics difficult for the fans. But for most of my life, our beloved franchise has been irrelevant. And if you want to be the team planting your flag on one of the signature holidays, the signature holiday, is a good way to do it. And I think this is part of being aspiring to being the model franchise, and not just the NFL, but all sports. I think this is an important part of it, So we got to do Christmas days now. That's just part of being a Chiefs fan. So
yeah. All right, so we're back even 12-4. We both have them at 12-4 heading into Week 18. Hopefully, by this point, the number 1 seed is locked up, but they got to go on the road to Vegas to take on the Raiders. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, the road, right?
Yeah.
We kind of call 2 stadiums Arrowhead West, and we need to differentiate SoFi from what is it, Allegiant? Is that what it is there in Vegas? So we need to figure out, is that Arrowhead? It's not really Southwest. We'll figure something out.
The Chiefs have won more playoff games there than the Raiders.
That's got to sting, man. I'm going with the Raiders here, and I had the Chiefs earmarked for 12 wins. For some reason, I just don't think they're going to surpass that number. So this is kind of a cheat, and I think their playoff positioning is going to be pretty solidified by this point. And the Raiders, will be out of playoff contention, given that they're sort of the bottom feeder of this division. They're improving, right? I think they're going to be more respectable, more competitive, but there are going to be a lot of guys playing for their jobs. They're going to be playing for next year. They're going to want to end their season on a positive note, and the Chiefs just aren't going to have as much at stake. So I'm going to take the Raiders in a somewhat meaningless game.
All right, there it is, everybody. So let us know if you've been keeping track in the chat. Tom, some of you guys who have been there the whole time, if you've been keeping track, what your final record predictions were. I got them at 13-4. Adam has them at 12-5. I just think the Chiefs in this last game, I think the Raiders might be playing for the last playoff spot. I know everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I've been saying since before the draft that I think the Raiders might finish second in the division, because I think they're going to sneak up on some teams. I think Geno's a lot better than people give him credit for, and I think Brock Bowers is an absolute beast, and I think they're going to be able to hang with some teams, and they'll be competently coached. So 12-4, 12-5 for you, 13-4 for me, both to be acceptable outcomes. Hopefully you think 12-5 is enough for them to get the number 1 seed.
He'll be close. I'm not sure it is. Maybe this is one of those years where Baltimore or Buffalo has the inside track. I have the Chiefs losing to both Baltimore and Buffalo. So in this situation, I don't think they'd have the number 1 seed. But we've seen with the Chiefs that often they find the health of their franchise, the way they're playing at the end of the season. Some of those factors are more important than where they need to go. They've done both roads to the Super Bowl. They've gone on the road the entire time, where they had to go to Buffalo, where they had to go to Baltimore, and it looked impossible. And they climbed the mountain, they did it. And then they've kind of coasted through Arrowhead as well. So I don't think they really particularly care, road, home, wherever. They know how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard if they go 12-5 to get that 1 seed over Baltimore, because they're regular season merchants there, and they go all out in every game in the regular season. Like I'm telling you, they treat every game like a playoff game, and they rack up those stats. If you look at Baltimore's schedule, a little bit of a tough start: Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, Houston, Los Angeles. Then they have their bye week. But after the bye, the Bears, the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Browns, the Jets, Bengals, Pittsburgh, Bengals, New England, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. So for them, it really comes down to, do the Bengals have their shit together this year? The Steelers, even if they do get Aaron Rodgers, I don't think they're going to be that much of a threat. They could maybe snipe them once. But so that's a much easier schedule, in my opinion, than the Chiefs. And their other competition for that number 1 seed, of course, is the Bills. Let's take a look at the Bills schedule. Baltimore, Jets, Miami, New Orleans, New England, Atlanta, Carolina, Chiefs, Dolphins, Tampa Bay, Houston, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, Philly, New York. I think it's going to be tough to keep the Bills and Ravens from getting the number 1 seed. The Bills schedule, the Bills going to have another good season, I think, here.
Yeah, and the Ravens are just really built for the regular season. I don't like that kind of model that is so reliant on the running game in the postseason. I mean, but the Eagles just showed that it can work. I think it's a little bit more dicey to translate to the postseason because it ended up working because Jalen Hurts had the touch on Super Bowl Sunday and got hot. But I don't know. I think usually in playoff football, your passing game has to go out and win things for you. And Baltimore traditionally just hasn't built their offense that way. So
yeah, I think the Bills, man, if they get by Baltimore in week 1, the Jets, Miami, New Orleans, New England, Atlanta, Carolina, they could be 7-0 coming into playing Kansas City in Buffalo. That's not a tough schedule that they have at all. So they may be the number 1 seed. We'll see. We'll see how quickly the Chiefs can get it together. Their tough games are early, so they're going to really need to come out of the gate strong. All right. That was fun, everybody. Weston in the chat has the Chiefs at 13-4. Tom's got the Chiefs at 13-4. So love that. Thank you guys for letting us know your predictions throughout the chat here. That concludes the Chiefs football part of this podcast. We will now, as we do each week, do Paddy's Power Rankings, where we talk a little bit of film. And this year, we're going to do the year, a very important year in the history of American sports and internet culture, 2007, which was the year that you and your brother, Zach, founded arrowheadaddict.com. The reason we're all here and some 80 some odd people have full-time jobs in sports right now at Fanside. It's really incredible.
Many, many moons ago, but a good year in film. I really like this year, and I can't believe it was that long ago. We're going on 20 years, folks, of being addicts together. I guess I'll start off with my number 3. I'm a Western fan. We've talked about Deadwood ad nauseum between the two of us, both on and off the air. So for me, my number 3 is 3:10 to Yuma. I am a big Russell Crowe fan. I think he is one of the best living actors that unfortunately has been a little underused this past decade or so, but really just a great two-hander. And James Mangold is a really underrated American director. Recently did the Timothy Chalamet, A Complete Unknown, Bob Dylan movie. He's done Walk the Line, Ford vs. Ferrari. He did Logan, one of the best superhero movies of all time. And he did this one, and just Bale and Russell Crowe going head to head for 2 hours. You can do a lot worse. And Ben Foster, if you guys are familiar with him, really great character actor, especially in Westerns, just steals a lot of scenes here. Just a huge fan of this movie.
Yeah, that's quite the cast, man. You can't go wrong with that. My number 3 here is Into the Wild. This is a really fantastic film and a tough watch. It's a biopic of a young man named Chris McCandless, who literally went into the wild, and it's kind of a road movie. He goes into remote Alaska and is living on a bus, and things went bad for him, and he ended up dying out there, got sick and starved to death. Was stranded, couldn't get out. River went crazy and just couldn't get back. It's got one of my all-time favorite small supporting performances by an actor, Hal Holbrook, who was around forever in a million things. He has a moment. He plays a lonely man's wife passed away, and he connects with this young man and basically asks him, to adopt him. And it's just such a powerful moment of acting from Hal Holbrook. I think he might have gotten nominated for an Oscar for it. I can't recall. He's fantastic though in that one moment, and that sealed the movie for me. It's a terrific film if you've never seen it. Rosencrantz said the old guy. Yeah, that's right. He was very old.
Directed by Sean Penn, right? And this score, all the music's done by Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam. Really unique movie that I think came together in a special way. I'm a fan. I haven't revisited it in a long time, but perhaps I should.
Hal Holbrook lived to be 95, by the way, from Cleveland, Ohio.
There you go. I mean, maybe that's the draw for you. Ohio boys got to stick together.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me. This was really, really, really hard because I thought of another movie. I'll just go ahead and mention it because it's on neither one of our lists. There Will Be Blood did not make either of our list, and I feel like if we didn't mention it, we would get cooked in the comments. So have to mention it. One, and just an all-timer film. But I kind of lean into films that are rewatchable, that stay with me, that I want to revisit over the years. And Zodiac by David Fincher is something that I keep going back to, and love the performances. Jake Gyllenhaal is great. Of course, I think Robert Downey Jr. really steals the movie here, but it's just so damn eerie, and it captures a moment in time, and it's deep, and it's just way better than a movie about a serial killer they never caught has any business being. So, and then, I mean, I think it's just David Fincher, he puts his films together like nobody else ever. So yeah, huge Zodiac fan.
Don't some people think Ted Cruz was a Zodiac killer?
Yeah, that is bad. I mean, they also think his dad killed Kennedy. So I don't think either of those things are probably true, honestly. But it's crazy that we never found out who the Zodiac killer is. It's just what an enigma, what a crazy thing. But yeah, this film is incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. I considered it for my list as well. But I had to go with, I always try to sneak some horror in, and I had to go with The Mist, man. The Mist has, I'm not going to spoil it in case anybody has never seen it, but it has one of my favorite endings of any movie ever. It's very unique and not something that you often see in Hollywood. I'll just leave it at that. But as a fan of horror and monster movies, this movie's really, and I really love Stephen King and the kinds of characters that he creates. This has it all rolled up into one. And what's really cool about this movie is that if you watch it, some of the monsters look a little, not silly, but they're CGI, kind of earlier CGI here. They don't look like they're kind of rooted in the world. Now, it kind of works because they're supposed to be from another dimension. If you don't know the premise of the movie, like this mist rolls into a town and there are monsters in the mist, and it's because of some military experiment where they're looking into other dimensions. So they bring these baddies into our world, and a bunch of people get trapped at the supermarket. And it's really scary and creepy, and there's like spiders and otherworldly monsters. But the movie was originally meant to be, it was shot in black and white, and then they colorized it later. So if you can find the black and white version of this, and I had the opportunity to see it here at the Music Box Theater in Chicago, oh man, it's even better. It's the way it's meant to be seen. The monsters don't look out of place with the CGI in black and white. And it's just a terrific film, and another tough watch, but really, really good if you like spooky stuff.
The black and white cut, there's not another movie where it makes this big of a difference, because it goes from kind of looking a little corny to having not looking corny at all and having like a retro Twilight Zone feel just by switching the color. But the fact that it was intended to be black and white, and I know you're a big Frank Darabont guy because we've talked about The Green Mile's one of your big ones. We've talked about The Shawshank Redemption. So I just wish he would have been able to see that vision through. And he was one of the forces behind The Walking Dead too. So, when it comes to like dread and horror, he knows what he's doing. They should have just let him do the black and white cut. But I would not watch the regular version. If you haven't seen this, find a way to find the black and white cut.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's just a really, really well done film. And the performances that you get, like Marcia Gay Harden is like the religious fanatic Mrs. Carmody. such an unbelievable, underrated performance. I think Marcia Gay Harden's performance in that movie is up there with Nurse Ratched in terms of like evil characters. Fantastic.
I mean, you just hate her. You're like,
Yeah,
she's gonna ruin everything. You know,
yeah.
And anytime an actor can conjure that feeling in you, they're doing their job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, number one for me, probably not going to be any surprise given my admiration for these filmmakers. No Country for Old Men, the Coen brothers. Perfect movie, and really anchored by these three performances by Javier Bardem and Tommy Lee Jones, and God, I'm just blanking on his name, Thanos. What's wrong with me today?
Oh, now
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin, yeah.
Josh Brolin, yeah. And then Kelly MacDonald. Oh my God, you know what an actress she is. If you guys have seen Boardwalk Empire, among other things, she's really good. And you get Woody Harrelson showing up as kind of this eclectic asshole for a few scenes, but just, I mean, the suspense and the tension throughout this manhunt is just obscene. You know, it's the scene where he where he shoots out the doorknob and it hits Josh Brolin in the stomach. And I mean, it is the brutality that they capture in this movie is second to none. Just like how Josh Brolin is one tough son of a bitch in this. He's one bad hombre, and he is out of his depth with the kind of characters he's up against. It's just something. And I think Tommy Lee Jones has this kind of like elder statesman stature that really anchors this thing and makes it more of like a morality parable or something that withstands the test of time. I don't know. It's just one of those movies for me where every ingredient was exactly measured and the final dish was perfect.
They nailed it. For me, it was the scene in the whether it's a convenience store or gas station when he comes and he starts talking to that poor guy working there. Like, I felt so horrible because, you know, just the dread that you feel in that scene is it's so well done. It's a lot of the scenes in that movie, that one in particular, it reminds me a little bit of Tarantino, the way he's able to build tension. And so like his scene at the beginning of Inglourious Bastards with Shoshana, like under the floorboard, like that's another, just like, that's an all-time scene when you're able to do that, especially at the beginning of a movie. Like, it's, you know, like you're early in the movie and you're able to create that amount of tension with the characters that people don't know yet. Like it's, you're right. It's just an absolutely phenomenal film. And I'm a big Coen Brothers guy.
The poor bastard doesn't know that this coin flip is for his life.
Right.
You know, and then the audience knows what, you know, and he's got this cattle prod thing that he's, you know, denting people's brains with and killing them that way. It's just a bizarre, that performance. Talk about like on the Nurse Crotchet level with the bizarre haircut and everything.
Yeah. Chilling.
Oh,
chilling.
What a creep. What a creep.
A lot of spooky stuff. We had Zodiac and The Mist and No Country for Old Men. So I'll finish this off on my favorite movie of this year, a light film, Superbad. I gotta tell you, man, I saw Superbad in a movie theater in Columbus Circle, a big theater in New York City with an absolutely packed house. And the laughing was so prevalent in this theater. I missed half of the lines of the movie. People were cracking up. And I think there's like been a bit of a war on comedy. Everybody's gotten so PC and offended by everything that, you know, some of the style of movie that this was in 2007, that was really a throwback to some of the raunchy high school comedies from the 80s. And, you know, like movies like Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds and stuff like that was obviously influenced by. And I don't think this movie's offensive at all, actually. It is if you take it from the point of view of like two horny high school kids in the way that they talk about women. But the thing the reason why this movie is actually really, really good is because it's not their horniness and the way that they speak about women isn't really glorified in the film, right? Like it's really, they're scared, right? About growing up and changing. And the depiction of how they speak about women for me in the film, I was a horny high school kid, right? Like it's not, whether or not you're offended by the way that they behave in the movie, they would never make Superbad now. The way that the things that they say, like they just wouldn't do it. But that's how people talked in high school, young boys in high school at that time and earlier. Good for good or bad, that's a depiction that's not really too far off from the truth. But everyone's sort of humanized in this picture. And as raunchy as the comedy is, it's great because it's a fantastically written movie. And I would say that it's borderline a perfect film. I would put it in the Die Hard category. This movie was written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. And the reason the script is so good is because this is a movie that they were working on since they were a lot younger. And originally Seth Rogen was supposed to play the character that Jonah Hill plays, but by the time they finally got the movie made, he was too old. And what you see with a lot of these like Judd Apatow movies and some of these other movies is that the first one is really good because they had time to really flesh out the script and really get it right, and then it's a huge hit, and then they want Hollywood wants more, and then you get signed to a we want more, and then they have to rush to get another movie out in a year or two, and sometimes they just don't, like movies like I think about movies like This Is 40 and Funny People that like have really good stuff in them, but feel like they needed like 2 more drafts and they don't stick the landing. This movie is about 2 scared best friends dealing with the love story is between Seth and Evan. Like that's the love story of the movie, is that they're growing up and growing apart. And they're scared about a lot of things. And that one touchstone that they had in their life, their friendship, is sort of pulling them in different directions. And how do they act out all of that stuff? Their fear of going to college and being inadequate and their relationship with one another. And it's hilarious on top of all that. But there's actually a really good script underneath, and all of the decisions that the characters make sense, all the decisions they make sense, including the female characters who are also not perfect. So it's fascinating. And then you have the whole side plot, which is more of a fairy tale with McLovin, which is hilarious as well. It's got an incredible soundtrack, gut-bustingly funny in moments. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think it holds up, even though they'd never make it today.
And not very many things ascend to the lofty spot and the pop culture lexicon that McLovin has. You say, like McLovin is a verb, for a fake ID, are you going to McLovin it? And in this film, you also get Seth Rogen and Bill Hader pre-peak, right, coming into their own. You get Emma Stone, who's one of the great American actors now, who's won 2 Oscars and as good as it gets in a supporting role. So Jonah Hill and Michael Cera are great together. I really like this movie. I think it's very funny. And also it's kind of like, it's different than The Wolf of Wall Street, but you got to like look not at the behavior in the film, but like the message at the end of the film. They're not like, they don't stay the same. That behavior wasn't rewarded. They had to like change and recognize. And sometimes you need imperfect characters to get there. But yeah, I'm big fans of Seth and Evan's work together. I love In the End. Hilarious movie. The movie they did, kind of like the meta movie they did about the end of the world. And now I'm watching The Studio. I don't know if you guys are watching The Studio, but
I haven't started it yet.
Oh my God. And I know, like I'm in the industry, so it hits a little closer home to home for me. But I kind of feel like it's a spiritual successor to Veep, because you have this studio head who is just in over his head, and it's just constantly this group of people fucking up and trying to clean up their own messes. And it's really funny. It's really well done. Two of the best in the business creatively. And this is really, I think, for them, where for that like powerhouse storytelling couple, this is where, or duo, this is where it all started.
Yeah, man. I miss these comedies that we had, in the last decade, the Will Ferrell movies and a lot. There's the appetites changed there for a little while. And I really hope it comes back, because there just aren't a lot of I don't feel like there are a lot of really great comedies being made right now. And these guys are really fun. You mentioned This Is the End. I own that movie. I love that movie.
It's incredible.
The scene where they're arguing about Danny McBride jerking off and where he can jerk off. And if you watch that scene and they're going back and forth, you can see Seth Rogen in the background standing there and his whole body's shaking. His head's down because he's laughing. I mean, it's just, that's a friggin' hilarious.
When Danny McBride just comes in and like cooks all their food that morning, and just
he's eating everything and touching everything. And it's just the scene with Emma Watts. It's just an unbelievable film. Hilarious.
Channing Tatum cameo up there.
The giant Satan dong. Like, I mean, come on. It's so much fun. People need to lighten up.
One quick note on comedy. I do think cultural changes have affected comedy some, but I think the other thing is people don't want to go to the theater to see comedy anymore, because they've just been trained to watch comedies on streaming. Part of that's because of television, but I think theaters, people need, like, there's a connotation that you need like big budgets now to go to the theaters. And what I worry about for these younger generations is, we used to go in theaters for 2 hours, leave our troubles behind, and laugh together as a society. Yeah. And the infectious nature of that laughter, just a whole theater. I mean, I remember going to Old School, just one of the movies, but like, I mean, the laughter, I mean, people were, or like Borat, people were like wheezing or coughing or like holding their ribs laughing, because when I don't know if it's 500, 200, 1,000, depends on the size of the theater. When that many people get together, or even 100, and start laughing, you can't stop. You can't help but join in, especially if it is indeed like a really funny movie. And we have kind of gotten away from that like shared experience. It sucks. That's why. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, my wife runs a theater company here in Chicago. We met in theater school. You guys know this. I used to be an actor, and I performed live on stage in front of large groups. And there are some people, like, going to acting school and getting my master's in acting. There were some people, they were such good actors that I studied with, and any room, the rehearsal room, whatever, like, they were just so good at comedy and they could be hilarious. And I always struggled with it in the rehearsal room, because I'd be too in my head. But there's a thing that happens when you're performing live in front of an audience, or when there's a live audience together watching a film, and it's an electricity. You become a living, breathing organism, and you inform one another of what's happening, and there's a vibe. And when I would get into I was so much better of a live performer than I was a rehearser or an auditioner, because I had a good feeling for the audience. And they would inform my performance. They would bring about spontaneity to my performance. And so I just loved, like, just finally getting in front of the crowd. And the theater is really struggling right now, because people just won't go out of their damn houses and touch grass. And like, it's a shame. I don't want to see live theater go the way of opera and stuff like that, where it's like only for really old people and stuffy. It's the art is film and theater. It's a mirror on ourselves, and it's better in person with people. It's the way that it's great. You can sit at home, you can watch a drama or whatever and cry and maybe get it, but like a comedy, man, super bad. It's never going to hit like it did when I saw it with a group of people in the theater. I've gone and seen replays of movies and second run theaters. Like, oh God, here's a great one, right? I'm a theater guy. Child's Play 2. Child's Play 2. I wasn't able to see Child's Play 2 in the theater, right? I was too young. I saw it in a second run theater here in Chicago. I laughed my ass off. I never knew that movie was that funny. But there's just some things that seeing it with a crowd makes it better. I've seen Ghostbusters with a crowd. So it's great on its own, but man, it's better with people. So go touch grass, people. That's our message to you. Go to the movies, support the arts in person.
Before we get out of here, are you in on this Naked Gun reboot with Liam Neeson? Have you seen the trailer? Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you. I was never a Naked Gun fan. I was never a Leslie Nielsen. Maybe it's because I never saw any of those movies in the theater. So I'll check it out.
I think it's like an age thing, but it's interesting because it seems like, okay, they're actually trying a comedy again. And it's because they think it's like this nostalgia brand that they can bring back and actually get people to go to the theater. So I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe we need to go see this so we can get back to laughing again at movie theaters.
Yeah. Ron in the chat says Dodgeball when the theaters was great. I saw Dodgeball in the theater, and that when he snapped his fingers and Michelle pulled up on the like the little scooter after Nobody Makes Me Bleed My Own Blood or whatever. The place went nuts. It blew the roof off of it. Yeah. All right. It's been an hour and a half, as it usually is when we talk film. That's okay, though. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. We're going to cut all of these out or something and make a new podcast. But thank you so much for our your predictions in the chat. If you want to support the Arrowhead Addict podcast, check out the link in the description and become part of the AA crew. But we'll see you guys tomorrow for Freaky Friday, Adam's new weekly show. And thank you, Adam Best, the Blogfather, and thank you to producer Richard for getting us up and running today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.